Thanks for tuning in. I am a set of a priori modes that allow me to synthesize my place in reality in a systemic manner. I'm a set of a priori modes that allow me to synthesize, to lock down onto my place in reality in a systemic way. I am not a body of limbs and organs. What does that mean? Well, I asked a question recently on social media. I put that forward as a representation of what we are, a set of a priori modes that are prior to experience, modes that allow us to conduct ourselves and synthesize and systemize our place with experience. I put it down, instead of saying I'm a body of limbs and organs and cells and heart and lungs and bones and so on, and I walk and I talk and I listen and I touch and I feel and I'm an emotive being, and that is part and parcel of what we all actually are. But what are we in essence? I believe we're a set of modes, as I've said, and more to the point, I asked people to give me a better version, a bigger version than that of what we actually are. Like if an alien landed today and stopped in my garden and said to me, what are you as a species? I would say we're a set of a priori modes that allow me to synthesize my place with reality in a systemic way. And the alien, if it was an intelligent being, would understand, wow, that person, given the paradigm, given their state on the evolutionary ladder, is on it. Okay, because many people still think they're the body, the color of their skin, their nationality. Okay, people still think they're Israeli or Irish or American and so on. And like if we look at one of the modes, the ability of the mind to abstract, there's no half measures with the mode, there's no half measures with adding, which is a mode of the mind. We use it to add things up, we add up our evolutionary theories, we add up our pennies, we add up World War II was corrupt and so on. Adding is a huge mode of the mind, and there's no half measures in that. There's no half measures in abstracting. So for example, if you truly understood the mode of abstraction, forget the complex side of abstraction, abstract mathematics and all that. I'm just talking about our intuitive ability to abstract. You can understand yourself right now and me as, as a body, this form, this shape, okay? But you can also abstract and understand. I break down to organs and cells, blood cells, white blood cells, and so on. I break down to molecules, okay? So that's you now in an abstract state. You can abstract from what you see in front of you, okay? In the simplest of ways. And if you understand abstraction, like for example, I was born in Ireland, and in one sense, in the cultural sense, I am Irish. Okay, I am Irish, but when we come to humanity's table to ask the question, what are we? Irish is out the window, because when I abstract from myself, I go all the way back to fish. Okay, and we'll say we go back 7 million years to my great-great-great-granddad who was a chimp. Okay, 7 million years, that many generations back. I can abstract back to that because that's I can embody that. That is part and parcel of who I am, who you are, who we are. Okay, so we have to look at the whole picture if we want to identify ourselves. Identification is another mode. We're always trying to identify ourselves. So I can identify myself as being Irish in a vacuum. Okay, conveniently in a cultural respect, I'm Irish. Okay, for all intents and purposes, I have white skin, whatever the fuck that means. But you know what I mean. I'm European, whatever that means. I'm Earthling. I'm from Earth. Okay, so we can keep abstracting and taking it back. So we go all the way back to chimp. You don't get to draw a line along the way that's convenient to you and say, well, I'm going to start 3,000 years ago and I'm this nationality. Okay, I'm Jewish. Or I can start this many years ago and say I'm Irish. Or this many years ago, I can go back a few millennia and say I'm Russian. Okay, you can't just draw a line and you begin from there. That's just a stupid way of thinking. And, look at the trouble that's led us to. We're at war. We're on the verge of nuclear war on this day because humanity just doesn't understand the modes of its own inner workings, and abstraction is one of them. So we can abstract. So if we all understood abstraction, I can abstract a monarchy, I can abstract a queen back to being a woman. Okay, we can abstract her out of that pseudo framework, that circus pseudo framework of nonsense. Anyway, so abstraction is a very important mode of the mind. Now, I want to just, like I said, identification is another mode. I'm trying to identify with what I am. I'm trying to understand what are we, what are human beings. But when we go down the rabbit hole, when we chase ourselves down, okay, we disappear down the rabbit hole. As soon as we hit quantum, this form, this temporary form that we understand as self is gone from the equation. Okay, so we cannot say we're body. We're definitely not a body of limbs and organs because we can't predicate them. We can't place them. Okay, there's we're wearing some temporary fit, And it didn't start yesterday. Like I said, it started millions of years ago. It's better to think of ourselves, as something that's running along a chain of events. Okay, I'm part of that. I'm not Irish. I'm something that's running. I'm something that's building and evolving along a whole chain of events. And if you think of all the permutations, permeating into permutations that come out of fish, that come out of chimp, up into our half understanding of language, up into alphabets, up into abstraction, up into mathematical constructs, up into science, up into logical and thinking and so on. Just think of the permutations, the infinite number of permutations along that line, along that chain of events. Okay, we're attached to that. We're part and parcel of that. And abstraction lets me see that. So something about my eye, something about my inner eye, the lens, that's a set of modes, as I said, allows me to abstract in such a monumental way. Now that's a phenomenal measure of us. That's a phenomenal measure of you. Okay, so if an alien landed and said, give me a phenomenal measure of what you are, as I said, I would let the alien know that we're a set of a priori modes that allow us to synthesize our place in reality in a systemic fashion. Okay, we lock down into reality and we systemize. Without our ability to systemize, there is no symmetry of thought. Okay, that itself has symmetry of thought because it's systemic. So anyway, if you've been listening to me, lots of modes. I just wrote down a few here so I can think with them. Like precision, we need categorization. Okay, we categorize animal, we categorize man, we categorize evolution, we categorize chemistry and science and transcendentalism. Without categories, we couldn't, open up our subjects and to look at them and inspect them for each field as they are unto themselves, if that makes sense. So we need to be able to categorize. Another mode is evaluation. We need to be able to evaluate what we're looking at, okay, to understand, to evaluate what a human is. I'm trying to evaluate what we are right now, and I'm trying to get you to evaluate the modes in your mind in relation to what you are. Okay, another one, to configuration. When we say that something doesn't figure, something doesn't square up, it's because we don't understand its set configuration. The monarchy doesn't figure, it doesn't square up because it doesn't have an ontological configuration. Okay, when you abstract from it and read it in that way and register it in that way, when you start to add it up and evaluate it and categorize what I'm saying, that turns out to be the case. So, like I said, this is still all part of the abstract lens, the abstract systemic eye, and I'm trying to lock you down with what I'm saying. I'm trying to synthesize you. I'm trying to lock you into what I'm saying so you can see you in the broadest, biggest light possible. If that makes sense, extension and expansion, two more modes. You're trying to extend into what I'm saying and expand. We're expanding all the way back to being chimps 7 million years ago. We can abstract, we can extend and abstract and extend into something and expand into it so we can understand it more and more. We can circumnavigate, another great mode of the mind. We move our mind around things, like I said, so we can find a set configuration, something and combine with it, combination. Reality is all about combinational configurations. If a configuration fits, if it squares up, it means we've combined with it, cognitively combined with it. Anyway, so I'm just waxing in my usual hyper state. The reality is we have a set of modes in the mind that allow us to synthesize our place in reality in a systemic fashion. And these modes, like I said, I cannot identify being male because, yes, obviously, convenient in a kind of out in this realm, I'm male. Okay, the ego, the modes engage with who I am, and it allows me to live in this realm and so on. And I walk around thinking this is my body, and these are my eyes, and I listen to music, and I like ice cream, and so on and so on. And I love my son and my family and my friends, and I love Small World and festivals and so on. I love life. Who doesn't? Okay, I like to think that we all love life, and we're on a fucking planet, circling the sun. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I love life. But anyway, back to the point. We are a set of modes. We're a set of a priori modes. And one of the modes, like I said, is identification. And I cannot identify where I am in this realm, but I can identify that I have a phenomenal mode of identification. I can identify with the fact that I have the mode of identification. Okay, so I'm still in the game. I am something. I might not be the body, but I am something that identifies. And this mode is fit for purpose because in relation to finding itself, because it keeps identifying. Okay, by knowing I'm not this, at least I'm still on the chessboard. What's the next move? I can keep using it until I identify the cell, identify, keep moving it around until we can fully identify ourselves. But we can identify that we have a set of modes that allow us to abstract and systemize, or I couldn't have this conversation and you couldn't tune into it either. Okay, so this is the highest representation that I know of that is what we are. Okay, and this needs to refine more. This is the compass of self. This is the compass that's going to take us forward into the next paradigm and the paradigm after that. These modes are fit for purpose. Categorization in a million years' time, we'll be still categorizing. We'll be still adding things up. We will be still trying to synthesize our position in a systemic way so we can combine with the correct configuration of things. I mean, see the way I can wax lyrical like that, because we're built on structure. I'm literally waxing lyrical around the structure that we are. So yes, anyway, the man who found the mind. This is the mind. This is before ego, okay? This is nothing to do with ego. Categorization has nothing to do with the music I like or the ice cream I like and so on. I can categorize those subjects, but I can categorize science too. Categorization is a mode of the mind, okay? It allows me to have the experience that we experience every day. The modes I relay are separate. You can think of them as a constellation set, as a concatenation of concepts, like a lot of concepts brought together. The leg bone connected to the hip bone, okay, the, evaluation connected to navigation, navigation connected to, unification, identification, addition, categorization, combination, configuration, and so on. They're all connected as one. Think of them, like I said, as a constellation set unto themselves. Okay, comport your mind around its import. Okay, import it in and comport, set your mind up around it. It's kind of a skeletal, eidetic picture of the mind. Okay, and I believe that is something unto itself, and it's inside of all of us, and that is the mind. And that is the best understanding we have of the mind, intuitively speaking, on this day, unless you want to offer up another one. Now, I'd love to be invited into universities for anyone to challenge this. The thing is, to debunk me, you would have to use the modes. You'd have to categorize what I'm saying, you'd have to evaluate what I was saying, and so on and so on. So it's tautologically airtight, okay? You cannot debunk me because you'd have to use the very thing I'm offering up to debunk me, and so on. But anyway, the point being, as I said, this is the mind. I believe this is the mind, and obviously we're on a long journey. We're not long out of monkey, okay? We're out of fish, out of monkey, barely into Homo sapien, okay? We don't even understand abstraction yet, as I've said. But this is the beginning of the journey, and this is what we are. We are not the body. We are not the body. Yes, conveniently, like I said, while we live in this realm, we walk around, we eat our ice cream, we dance, we have a good time, we give hugs. It's all hunky-dory. But we have to get serious about what we are. So once again, we're a set of a priori modes that allow us to synthesize our place in a systemic manner. There is nothing on the table that gives us a higher representation of that. It's universal. It doesn't matter if you're Russian or Chinese or English or whatever. We all use these modes. Everybody adds up. Everybody uses categorization. Everybody uses unification and identification. They're one universal set in all heads equally. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're working class, upper class, black or white, male or female or whatever. These modes are within all, and they're the highest representation. Like if you want to represent yourself, I mean, to be associated, say, with I have 10 fast cars and I have 500 billion pounds and 10 mansions, okay? What's that representation of? I'm a set of modes that allows me to abstract reality and my place in it, okay, in a systemic manner. That's a huge fucking measure of our species. And until I hear more, until someone puts me in my place and shows me a better understanding of what we are in the phenomenological sense, we are that, okay, and that's my claim. So I believe I am the man who found the mind, and we'll be looking for the ghost, the mind, which is an invisible entity. It's very hard. It's easier to find the empirical realm because we can tap it, we can probe it, we can open it up, we can blow it up, we can bang it together, okay, and measure it. But how do you find something ghostly? How do you find something that doesn't seem to have any texture? Well, you find it through intuitive structure. And anyway, so I shall leave it on that note. And like I said, you feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to add to debunk what I've said or add to it. Give me a better version of what we are so I can run with it, because it's always best to offer up the biggest version of self. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I know I've been on a little bit of a rant today, but anyway, that's the way it goes. Slow it down if you have to. And peace and love and logic.
Start. Stop. 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 Stop.